painting might hide something for you and you don't know it. But you have to be maybe able to open yourself to the work that you just do there. And therefore, I would suggest forget who you are really and cut your identity out. Drawing, painting helped me always to use it as a catalysator, to filter things, to understand things, describe things better. And I don't want to use the term express. Expression is also something very conscious. What is it to express? There must be something that it's inside that you want to bring out. It's a system, it's a catalyzation. I think it's rooted in us, it's like an instinct. We're born with that, Look at the human history. I'm Behrang Karimi. I'm born 1980 in Iran, in Shiraz. And we left 1983, 84 for multiple reasons, political. And I grew up then in Germany, so I'm more or less German. When we left Iran, my father was an artist and a writer and a teacher and painter, a graphist already. My mother was studying, and there was a war going on between Iran and Iraq. And we had this political change. And it seems that in a moment it's more actual than ever. And so we left in 83, 84, and because there was no other way to work there and to live there, and for multiple reasons, especially as a free-thinking individual or as an artist. I grew up in the studio, I grew up in paint. I saw him painting nearly every day, I think as a child you don't think in that way. As fascination, you might be fascinated, but you don't realize that you are fascinating. You're just living in that. But it was also conflicted, I would say, because of the surrounding, and especially to make a living as an artist in that situation of, especially if you're an exile artist, or you start to learn a new language and to become, to reboot everything, because he already had his life and everything was working quite good, and suddenly everything collapses in a way. And so there were a lot of people like him. There was a whole generation, I would say, more or less intellectual, let's call them, like that. They would really struggle under these circumstances. And so the art was always connected with that kind of atmosphere and political problems. So they were always inside the work as well. How do you choose to identify yourself? That's a good thing that I grew up with my parents, because they were from a generation, and I would called it more or less like this 68 revolutionaries. And so they were critical already against every flag and nationalistic movements. And I think I am also part of that. And I'm sure, yeah, culturally we're very connected to one specific culture. Like now that's the Iranian, or let it be German or Danish, whatever. But that doesn't tell you how you are, who you are, or how do you want to be. So this is my upbringing, being against nationalistic movements. And therefore it was clear that art was the only island who could keep that away in a way that you didn't need any flags, really. About the places, I would say it's more a nature place. Places where people are disconnected from their heritage and they are vulnerable and they have to try to figure out where they can be. And then it's like in the opera. I mean, yeah, it can be Middle East and Europe. That's now an example, but it can be also somewhere else. You can, I don't know, come from Angola and trying to do Indian connectivity. I don't see it that, especially now coming back to that question, especially that contradictory, this East-West problematic. Like I said before, I avoid both sides. That's why I became an artist. So it stands more for a universal place. It's a nature place in some certain kind of paintings. Start on a free space. Let's say you have a painting and you don't have an image or photograph that you have to work on, and you work with an idea which comes from memory, which I do mostly, and I then would start to draw and then to build up the idea and which I wanted to do. And it really depends. Sometimes I don't come from the drawing, from the idea itself, from the structure, that I know, okay, on the right corner there has to be a, I don't know, the moon, or, there's a sea. I really work and build up the process inside this empty space. So therefore things evolve, they got created. You build up like a underneath structure, let it be in landscape, let it be free forms. And therefore you deal with two components, like giving and taking, and you go back and forth. So you have then, and that's another way of composing thing. And so it's not the surface composition, it's more, it's creating the painting in itself to the, you have the factors like the colors, the perspective, the structure itself, the tones, the contrasts. Then it comes to what was there underneath. Like I had a long period of time that I just start to work with doing like pencil, for example, words. The first words that popped up in my mind, and I would do like an ellipse, and then I would structure the ellipse and divide it into parts, and then I would write things like in a brain map, like on a whiteboard you would do a brain map. And then so I would write these words, whatever they would be, let them be insults or nice abstract words. And then I would work to that and try out. So I experimented on that field of how far can I go really into to find a painting, a new painting. The search is so interesting that you never get, that you understand that Really, it is more about the making and to create these questions for you and to keep them open and unanswered. And that's, to understand that, it's kind of a piece of a work to do. But it's a mental work. And the result can be, yeah, not whatever, but I mean, I love the paintings that they do that to me, that they invite me to a room that I don't know and do something with me. That is where I stop at the works, in the museum. Then I would find myself in contemplation, maybe. Colors have I would say, for myself, a multi-layered meanings. I mean, orange could be schizophrenia, yellow could be jealousy, purple could be forgiveness, green could be insomnia. They have these energetic fields also on a canvas. Look of all these wonderful Monet works, or they're pure harmonic, but also pure chaotic as well. All the brush marks, and in the end, there becomes a balance somehow. This dissonance between chaos and balance is so interesting in painting. It's also in music. You find a tone where it becomes open, and then you can look into it, And it's not done with perspective. I mean, look at Monet works. They have no lines, really. Nature hasn't a line. You do not draw a perspective line on a flea point. You have just the pure natural structure. And that's also one goal to achieve, maybe. To create a kind of a depth, a deepness inside the color, inside the subject that you want to share, or what you try to share. I mean, and that's the activity. I would go far and say the painting paints itself. You're just an operator in the end, when you go in that direction, when you allow nature being God. I mean, that sounds a bit too high, but I really mean it like that. If you look at the wild flowers in a field, you see a variety of colors which blown me away. And it is not really often that you can find a real wildflower field, for example, or let it be a bush with some poison berries in it. So if you look at that tone of orange, like poison nature already, it completed the harmony of colors and the tone of color harmonics, I would call them. It's like, I don't know, maybe Karl-Heinz Stockhausen would talk about the music of the birds. The sound of the birds is the complete music, or anybody else. Let's take Stravinsky. Nature is king. Nature is the premise of creation, and what we do is trying to get a few tiny steps closer to that huge amount of beauty.